Tiger in the shadows. The forest was breathing. Not in the way a living creature breathes, but in that slow, rhythmic sway of ancient trees whispering to each other, their leaves catching the late afternoon sun in flashes of gold and green. The air hung heavy with the smell of damp earth and crushed leaves. Somewhere far off, a cowil sang, and a faint breeze carried the rustle of bamboo groves bending like old men sharing secrets. Anika walked carefully along the narrow dirt trail, her bare feet dusted in red clay. She carried a small bundle of firewood against her hip, her long braids swaying behind her. At 17, she had already learned the forest's moods, the way the birds' calls could tell you whether a snake slithered nearby, the difference between the sound of wind in leaves and the sound of something breathing. But that afternoon, she noticed something unusual: silence. The cowil's song had stopped. The langurs that normally chattered from the trees had vanished. Even the breeze seemed to have frozen mid-gesture. Her steps slowed. The sun was dipping lower now, throwing long shadows across the trail. She thought she heard something, very soft, like the creak of muscle, the shift of weight on dry leaves. Her heart tapped against her ribs. She scanned the undergrowth, seeing nothing but the dark green thickets. She took another cautious step. And then, from the shadows, the forest breathed out, in the form of a flash of gold and black. The Royal Bengal tiger emerged in a single fluid bound, landing on the trail just ahead of her. He was enormous, his head nearly level with her chest even from a crouch. His amber eyes locked on hers, unblinking, assessing. His breath came out in low, warm gusts, tinged with the scent of raw meat. Anika froze. Every muscle in her body screamed to run, but her father's words echoed in her mind. Never run from a tiger, it will think you are prey. The tiger moved first. A single step forward, then another, silent but deliberate. His tail lashed once, twice, like a metronome counting down the moment. Anika's hands trembled. The bundle of firewood slipped from her grasp, landing with a dull thud. The sound seemed to break something inside the tiger. His muscles bunched. His body became a spring. And in an instant, he leaped. The world blurred. The weight of his body crashed into her, knocking her sideways into the dirt. She screamed as claws raked across her arm, hot blood spilling in rivulets. The tiger's roar exploded in her ears, shaking her bones. Somewhere behind her, another sound cut through, the pounding of footsteps. Ravi, a man in his mid-30s and a forest guard, burst through the trees. He carried only a heavy stick, the rifle he usually kept at the watchtower too far to fetch. His eyes widened at the sight. The tiger, massive and furious, crouched over the girl, tail whipping the air in agitation. "Hey!" Ravi's voice boomed. He slammed the stick against the trunk of a tree, sending splinters flying. The tiger's head turned toward him, ears flicking back. Anika lay in the dirt, breathing in short, ragged gasps. The forest guard stepped forward, his eyes never leaving the tiger's. His pulse thundered, but he knew any show of fear would seal his fate. The tiger growled, a deep, vibrating sound that seemed to come from the ground itself. Then, in a blur of motion, he left Anika and lunged at Ravi. The impact was like being hit by a battering ram. Ravi fell backwards, the stick flying from his grip. The tiger's paw slammed into his chest, knocking the air from his lungs. Pain shot through him as sharp teeth grazed his shoulder. Ravi twisted, rolling just enough to avoid the killing bite. His hand found a rock, smooth but heavy, and he swung it upward, striking the tiger's jaw. The big cat recoiled, not out of injury but surprise. For a heartbeat, they stared at each other, man and predator, equally dangerous in that moment. Then the tiger feinted left, testing him, tail curling like a question mark. From the corner of his eye, Ravi saw Anika struggling to her feet, blood still dripping from her arm. "Run," he mouthed to her. She shook her head, unwilling to leave him, but his glare forced her into motion. She staggered down the trail, disappearing behind a bend. The tiger's gaze followed her briefly before snapping back to Ravi. The man gritted his teeth, raising his arms to make himself appear larger. He yelled again, a primal sound that didn't feel like it belonged to him. The tiger circled, muscles rippling under his striped coat, amber eyes locked in calculation. Minutes passed, or perhaps only seconds, before the sound of a distant horn broke the standoff. Other forest guards were arriving, their shouts and the metallic clatter of weapons slicing through the forest's tense stillness. The tiger gave one last growl, a sound filled not with fear but with annoyance, and then he melted back into the forest, his stripes blending seamlessly with the tall grass. Ravi collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. His shoulder throbbed, but he was alive. A moment later, Anika reappeared with two other guards, her face pale but determined. They didn't speak right away. The forest slowly resumed its breath, the birds calling again, the wind moving through leaves. But for Ravi and Anika, that quiet would forever hold the echo of the tiger's roar. That day, both knew the forest was not theirs. It belonged to the shadows, the silence, and the amber-eyed king who ruled it.